Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Vido,
Present.
Councilor Lopez. Present. Councilor Rodriguez. Councilor Brown. Councilor Bishop. Councilor Tahada. Councilor Avellaneda. Councilor Robinson. Councilor Pilatanda. Councilor Garcia. Councilor Ray Recupero. 11 members present. Madam Chairman, you have a quorum. First order under memorials and celebratory resolutions. We have a resolution introduced by Councilor Robinson and all members of the City Council. Whereas Stephanie Simon, a Chelsea High School athlete, will be going as a participant in a national track meet held on June 15, 2018 in Greensboro, North Carolina. And whereas Stephanie Simon recently participated at the MIAA state meet, placing third in the 100-meter dash, third in the high jump, and second in the triple jump with a 38.5-foot distance, which qualified her for a second event at the Nationals. And whereas Stephanie Simon is undefeated in the 100 hurdles, 200-meter high jump, and only lost once in the triple jump to her sister, she also placed first in the high jump at the State Coaches Invitational and qualified for the New Balance National Championship. Whereas Stephanie not only excels in athletics, but shows her academic ability with a 3.3 GPA, taking honor classes while being a member of the band where she plays the saxophone and also plays the guitar and piano. Now therefore be it resolved that on behalf of the citizens of Chelsea, we the members of the Chelsea City Council wish to go on record to say how proud we are of your achievements, Stephanie, and wish you much success not only at the Nationals, but in all your future endeavors.
Chair recognizes Councilor Robinson.
Adopt this unanimously under suspension. Next, I'll just have a couple brief comments. I want to congratulate Stephanie and the Chelsea High track coaches. It's the first athlete in a long time for track that is going to the Nationals. Our last track star here was Bobby Goss, who broke 36 state records. And Stephanie, you're kind of in good company. We want to make sure that we recognize your achievements, and on top of that, you're a student athlete. We're very proud of you, so congratulations.
We'll suspend for a couple of minutes for her to come up and get the resolution. Come right here, honey. How you doing? Congratulations. You want to get in the picture? Next order of business.
The next resolution introduced by Councilor Robinson, all members of the City Council. A resolution for Jerry McHugh.
Yeah, I'd ask the clerk to waive the reading, actually. This resolution will be read at the retirement party for Mr. Jerry McHugh. So we're not going to read the resolution tonight. We'll present it at your retirement party. Good luck, Jerry.
The next resolution introduced by Councilor Vido, it's Aberdeen. You want to take that?
That one has been removed, yeah. We withdrew it.
We're removing that one from the... And the final resolution introduced by Councilor Vido, and all members of the City Council. Whereas individuals are lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer referred to in this resolution as LGBTQ include individuals from all states and the District of Columbia and all faiths, races, national origins, socioeconomic statuses, education levels, and political beliefs. And whereas LGBTQ people in the United States have made and continue to make vital contributions to the United States and to the world in every aspect. And whereas LGBTQ people in the United States serve and have served in the United States Army, Coast Guard, Navy, Air Force, and Marines honorably and with distinction and bravery. And whereas LGBTQ people in the United States have fought for equal treatment, dignity, and respect and have achieved significant milestones ensuring the future generations of the LGBTQ people in the United States will enjoy a more equal and just society. Whereas despite being marginalized throughout the history of the United States, LGBTQ people in the United States continue to celebrate their identities, love, and contributions to the United States in various expressions of pride. And whereas the Chelsea LGBTQ Coalition raised the pride flag for a third year in a row in Chelsea on Friday, June 1st, in honor of the LGBTQ Pride Month, now therefore be it resolved that we, the members of the Chelsea City Council, officially recognize June as LGBTQ Pride Month and celebrate and support the LGBTQ community in Chelsea and beyond.
Councilor Garcia.
I make a motion to adopt unanimously under suspension if there are no objections, and I
Seeing
wish
none.
to speak on it.
You have the floor, Councilor.
Thank you, Madam President. So June 1st, as we all know, in this month is a month of pride. It's a month of celebration. And I guess I can speak on behalf of myself and other council members who are recognizing not only the many city leaders and city residents who made this event possible. We want to specifically highlight John Ballinge and Matt Frank, along with other allies who were here, and it's our second year. It's actually our third annual LGBTQ flag raising, and it's so important that we continue to celebrate and really accept who we are. And I think that these groups of people have been able to do that, and you are such an integral part of our community. So thank you so much for creating a community that is inclusive, and it's accepting, and it's so loving. So to all the leaders who made this event possible, thank you so much, and may we continue to celebrate and embrace the Pride Month.
Thank you, Councilor. Is there anybody here from the LGBTQ Coalition by any chance? I don't think so. All right. Councilor Brown?
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to echo a few sentiments of my former counselor. This past Friday, I was honored to be at the flag raising of the LGBTQ community. It was a great event. In the past, I have missed those, but it was really enlightening because there was a few speakers that have shared their life and how their life has been, and now the acceptance, more so of the acceptance of all the communities. And they were saying how proud they was of Chelsea, and our city manager was there, and my colleague Leo Robinson was there, and it was just sharing. It was very touching. A lot of folks have that community as a stigma, like a community you try to push in the background. But now we in Chelsea have created an atmosphere where we want to make sure that everyone feels welcome, that we embrace you of your belief, of your status, and we just want to say congratulations on June 1st again. It was my first community event there in Chelsea. I have attended other community events. I have many friends of this community, and it's good to let everyone know that we appreciate them. We know that they make a part of our city. They're special to our city and our community. And not only that, the city manager has given his commitment that the flag will be there for the month of June just to recognize the month of the LGBTQ community and the work that not only they do, but the city that they live in which is Chelsea, and we're leading that horse and running and showing them that not only that we're strong, but we also support and we stand behind our members of that community out front, and not only just on the flag, but also in City Hall and throughout our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor. Okay. Moving on. I'll make sure that I pass on the resolution to the coalition. Public hearing on the budget. This is a public hearing for the budget. We will be voting on it in a few minutes. If anyone has any comments that they'd like to make. Just state your name and address for the record, please.
Thank you. My name is Sam Baker. I live in number 3 Ganji Terrace in Woburn, Massachusetts.
I'm sorry, can you repeat your address again?
3 Ganji Terrace in Woburn, Massachusetts. Gangi.
Got it.
Thank you. So as I said, my name is Sam Baker, and I am the Chelsea Teachers Union Vice President, and I've been a teacher in Chelsea for 11 years. I speak today in support of the passage of this budget. As many of you know, the Chelsea Public Schools has been underfunded by the state for many years. Unfortunately, this has led to a loss of teaching positions, increased class sizes, and the inability of the school department to compete with surrounding districts for talented young teachers or the retention of talented veteran staff. The state government is letting districts like Chelsea down. They have made it very clear through their lack of initiative that they cannot be relied upon to help support urban gateway districts like Chelsea. I don't even have to state here that we clearly cannot rely upon the federal government for support under this current administration. When the federal government lets you down, when the state government lets you down, there's only one place to turn: to your neighbors, to your local elected officials. I want to thank this body, and most importantly, City Manager Tom Ambrosino, for your continued commitment to the public schools in Chelsea. The budget commitment demonstrates that the citizens of Chelsea can rely upon their elected officials and their neighbors for the local support needed that is not going to come from Beacon Hill or Washington, D.C. So I just wanted to really stress how important it is to continue to fund Chelsea Public Schools appropriately, and thank you.
Tom Ambrosino, I'm the city manager. I don't have a speech. You've heard me on this budget quite a few nights. I just want to make one point. Obviously, I support the budget as submitted. The only thing I want to say is that a budget is not just a compilation of spreadsheets. A budget is always a policy and a document reflecting a philosophy of government. And this budget reflects my philosophy of government, that government ought to deliver services and that this government needs to invest and continue to invest in its residents. So this budget, as presented, does that. It continues investment in our downtown. It continues investment in our DPW so that we can expand the parks and street and sidewalk work and public building renovation that we wish to do. It continues the investment in our Recreation and Cultural Affairs Division and in our summer jobs program. And perhaps most importantly for people in this audience, it continues our strong and necessary investment in the Chelsea public school system. The budget presented tonight for that system is necessary and essential for that school system to continue to thrive. And I ask the City Council to support it as submitted. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ambrosino.
Hello, my name is Jeanette Velez. I live on 1 Franklin Ave. I represent District 2 for the Chelsea School Committee, and I'm the current chair. I was going to come in again with numbers and facts, but our superintendent has worked hard. I know she's met several times with the council to bring in the budget and what we have to work with. I want to thank you for all the support that you guys have given through the years, but more now than ever, we need you guys to support us. I also want to thank Senator Sal, who works hard at Capitol Hill to make sure that he is heard and he advocates for our students. With that being said, I just want to say there's a systematic injustice in this country. Everyone wants to help the poor, the minority, the working class. You know, this is all we hear during election time, but yet when it comes to education, there's always penny pinching. This injustice continues to hold back not only Chelsea, but other urban school districts. This Sunday, we will hold our high school graduation. We have a senior who will graduate with 42 credits from Bunker Hill and also get a high school diploma. But that won't be the focus. The focus will be MCAS scores, why our scores are low. We look at the negative as a city instead of looking at the positive, or what these kids are doing, or what our teachers come in every week to work hard, to dedicate their time to our students, extra time, their own personal time. Why? Because they care. Many of you guys will join in those festivities. You will congratulate them. You will say education is key, knowledge is power, keep it up, the good work, you are the future. So if they are the future, why not allocate the funds needed for our students to achieve the goals? Our students and their families need to know that the city of Chelsea has their back. 365 days a year, not just on special occasions. They need to know while they're fearing federal and state elected officials,
One more minute.
they will know that city, local officials have their back, and they have a community to back them. They shouldn't walk in fear in our city. Our kids deserve as much as any kid in a suburban district. And that's all I have to say. And our motto is, we welcome and we educate all. We don't nitpick who comes through our doors. Everybody's welcome, even if they come in on the last day of school. We embrace them. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeanette. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 4 minutes.
My name's Don Debenengo. I live in 11 Short Street, Medford, Mass. I'm a teacher at the high school, and I'm also the president of the Chelsea Teachers Union. Many times when I get to a podium, people think I'm going to advocate for the teachers. While that's usually the case, tonight I'm going to advocate for the most important, valued aspect of our city, our students. The budget you see in front of you has been worked on by the school administration for some time with input from all shareholders and stakeholders. And what you see before you tonight is a significantly reduced budget from initial projections. That budget is a result of numerous cuts that have already taken place, and we need to draw the line. As you know, last year, there was a huge gap between requested funds and allocated funds, both from the state and federal government. We need to advocate in those areas so we can provide an outstanding education to our students. Because of the state's inadequate funding formula, our gap is even larger this year. And what does that mean? Possibly significant increases in class size, which affect every student. Significant losses in revenues, which prevent teachers from providing the necessary instruction to make our students excel. And reducing the number of services that we can provide to our at-risk students. At the very least, I'm asking you to support and vote in favor of the budget you have before you from the school department. And when it becomes necessary later on in the year, when the fiscal budget for the state's approved, and you're looking at extra funds, because the state always has extra funds somewhere, that you look back at the words of our city manager this evening and invest in our future, our students. It's not the students of Chelsea's fault that our state government doesn't fund education properly. So I'm imploring you to ask you to step up when the time is appropriate, and after approving and voting in favor of tonight's budget, that you continue to support the school system as both our superintendent and city manager advocate. Thank you.
Thank you. Name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Catherine Anderson. I live at 51 Ellery Street in Cambridge, and I'm also a Chelsea teacher here speaking on behalf of our students. When the budget came out earlier this year, a lot of students were really concerned about the lack of funding that we had in many critical areas. The state is underfunding special education in Chelsea Public Schools by over $7 million alone. That's not even counting other areas of education where kids have critical needs. Our students notice this, and our students are trying their best to ask for what they need to get the education they deserve. Over April break, the Chelsea Teachers Union and Collaborative brought over 100 students to the State House to go and speak to our representatives and senators and talk to them about their dreams, why they deserve funding, why they need more funding, and talk about what the reality of education is in Chelsea. They also brought along with them testimonies from almost 100 more students asking for more funding. So similar to the people who have spoken already, the kids are already going lots of places asking for what they need. They should be able to rely on the Chelsea City Council. So I'm hoping that you will, again, at least pass the budget that's before you and keep looking for those funds that the state and the federal government are not giving to our kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Public hearing for the budget. Anybody else wish to speak? Going once? Going twice? That portion is closed.
Public speaking.
Public speaking. Anyone wish to speak to the city council? Please state your name and address for the record. You have 4 minutes.
Yes. My name is Daniel Riva, 300 Commandant Way in Chelsea, Massachusetts.
Daniel Riva.
Good evening. I'm the senior pastor of Family Worship Center here in Chelsea. And the reason that I'm here tonight is because I want to let you know that the churches here will be few years, we have more than a few years in Chelsea, and I know so many of the city councilors, but I'm coming and make official because I know we have a new city manager. Well, it's not new, but, and we try to encounter and working together with the city. You know, you can have the light behind the bed because we don't work and, you know, you need the light on top. And we try to do that. We try to come in and working together with the community. I know the community need different organization and leader to working together so we can make difference. So the board from the church have a meeting and we agree to work in different way. If it's a cleaning day for the city, I know that happen every year. It started with that. Anything in the city that need us help, you know, working with teenagers. It's a lot of situation with, you know, we did a couple of years ago, we did it, we handle clothes and stuff to the homeless outside. I think we want to do a better job. We're coming together. It's a lot of things that we can do together and make the difference. And I only want to present William Morales, who will be the community outreach for our church. So in the future, we like to meet the city manager and at the same time talking with the city officials so we can work together and make the city a better place to live. I know it's a lot of things exciting going in Chelsea, a lot of new things. I'm working here in Chelsea too, and I know Chelsea have a great future if we continue working together. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Roman Pucko. I live at 191 Linfield Street in Peabody, Massachusetts, and I am a member of the Polish American Veterans Post 13 of Chelsea. What I'm going to speak about is the parking problems in the city. What is needed is a comprehensive study of the traffic and parking situation in the city of Chelsea involving a person who is familiar with the city. I was born in 1940, lived on 1 Chestnut Street, and then because of the Tobin Bridge, we moved to 155 Chestnut Street on the corner of 3rd Street. When we moved out of the city of Chelsea, it was October 20th, 1975, due to many issues in the city of Chelsea. However, I was always present in the city, working for the city. I attended a lot of meetings, and at one time even a city councilor suggested to the city manager that I be offered a space, office space, so that I can continue the work for the city. I will volunteer my time and talent to help solve the parking problems within the city. Now, These parking problems involve the city council, the planning department, the planning board, the zoning board of appeals, and also the traffic and parking commission. There are many ordinances that are unenforceable. It's ridiculous to have an unenforceable ordinance because it's meaningless. Variants are given to certain projects. And again, I was involved in one situation where the developer needed twice the amount of land. So I complained one-on-one with a member of the board who informed me that, no, it was done because the city manager wanted it. Enforcement on tractor-trailer deliveries at no parking zones. The traffic department says they give tickets. We also have meter enforcement people that give tickets. I'm yet to find out if any ticket was given to trucks that deliver, that park in no parking zones or double park. A lot of the parking that is required by a developer can be used by the developer for whatever purpose he wants. He can charge people. There is no requirement that the parking be used for the purpose intended. Prime example, the CVS garage. The post office parks there and uses it.
1 more minute. 1 more minute.
What's that?
You have 1 more minute.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Sir.
Just what I'm saying is, we've got to do something, have due diligence. I'm willing to volunteer, and I'd like everyone to know my name. My name is Roman Pucko, and I'd like to finish by saying, Roman Pucko is your man. If he can't solve it, no one can. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Mark White. I live in Newton, Massachusetts, and some of you may know me as a developer, one north of Boston 1 and one north of Boston 2, which has somewhere up to about 800 residents who were brought into the city, new residents to the city. This gentleman here has spoken eloquently about the parking issues in the city, and I'm well aware and sensitive to the parking issues as they relate to neighborhoods across the city. I'm here, and I've been before the subcommittee on this issue, to advocate for a comprehensive study concerning parking across the city. One size does not fit all. It doesn't fit all in Chelsea. It's never fit all in Boston, Massachusetts, or Everett, or communities that surround us. We are not an island unto ourselves. And what I mean by that is I think even within our neighborhoods, there are some places where 1.5 or 2.0, whatever number, might work in terms of a per unit ratio. There are other parts of the city where that makes no sense at all. If you're close to right beside a T-line, your ratios would be different. For instance, in Boston, that has done massive parking studies, and for good reason, they have a 0.75 parking ratio beside T-lines. That makes eminent sense. And has allowed for more development in areas where that makes sense, and frankly has allowed for more affordable housing as a result of that. I'm worried about this proposal as it's been drafted, or as I've seen it, for 1.5, because I think where it may cure some problems somewhere, it may cause harm to housing and development in other areas, particularly affordable. So I have talked to the subcommittee on this issue, so I don't want to belabor it. I don't want to take up more time, but I do want to say that I think we, as a city, should spend some of the money that we've been hard-earned money that got us out of bankruptcy, that has given us a surplus. I think we should spend it wisely. I think we should take some of that money and do what other cities and towns have done responsibly, and that is to create a study, bring it back to the city council about how a professional would look at the city in terms of parking, and let you, the city council, along with the public, then use that as a document to challenge, to look at and think about. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else for public speaking? Public speaking, going once, going twice, moving on.
Approval of the minutes,
Approval
May
of the-
21st, 2018.
Counselor Tahada, sorry.
File the minutes.
Seeing no objections?
Communications from the city manager. First communication, notices of waiver intent. Pursuant to the Administrative Code, Section 112.02, I'm writing to notify you of my intention to hire 2 non-residents for open positions in the Division of Recreation and Cultural Affairs and to grant them waivers for the residency requirements set forth in Administrative Code Part 4, Section 112.01. First candidate is Miss Natalie Pardo, 7 Seaport Drive, Apartment 223, Quincy, Massachusetts, for the position of Community Recreation and Arts Program Manager. Ms. Pardo has been working with the Chelsea Youth Commission as a volunteer mentor since the fall. Her resume is attached. The second candidate is Mr. Omar A. Miranda, 14 Mount Washington Street, Apartment 12, Lowell, Massachusetts. Mr. Miranda has been working for the past year at the Boys and Girls of Greater Lowell. His resume is also attached.
Any motions? Counselor Garcia.
Motion to accept and file under suspension if there are no objections.
Seeing none.
There'll be something under the business, on the
And
waivers.
there will be something.
Is it?
We have appointments to the Harbor Planning Group, introduced by City Manager Tom Ambrosino. As you know, the city is commencing work on its municipal harbor plan. The first public meeting on this plan is scheduled for Monday, June 11, 2018, at 6 p.m. at the Senior Center. As part of its regulatory requirements for this plan, the city must establish a harbor planning group to assist in the planning process. The membership of the group was proposed by the city and its request for a notice to proceed to the Massachusetts Office of Coastal Zone Management, and CZM has consulted with the city and approved this attached list of members and member organizations. Accordingly, pursuant to Section 4-2 of the Charter of the City of Chelsea, I'm writing to recommend that the City Council approve the attached membership.
Any motions from any counselors?
I make a motion to accept and file if there are no objections under suspension.
Seeing none. Thank you, Counselor.
Next communication, administrative order on zoning board of appeals. Pursuant to Section 61A of the Chelsea City Charter, I'm writing to notify you that I have promulgated a new administrative order regarding the zoning board of appeals. The new administrative order revamps this multi-member body to create a 5-member board rather than the previous 3, and requires that all members be residents of the city of Chelsea. The planning director no longer serves as board chair, but instead acts or designates someone in the planning department to act as the administrative assistant to the board. The impetus of this change was concern expressed by the city council and others that the previous configuration of the board was perhaps not consistent with the city charter. After careful review and consultation with the city solicitor, I determined that this new configuration better conforms to all charter provisions. As you will see, I have allowed for the possibility of appointing an associate member of the Zoning Board of Appeals to serve when a member is absent, as is allowed by the Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 48 and 12. However, at the moment, I will leave that position unfilled and only seek such a member if the new board has trouble securing a quorum. I will be submitting to the City Council a recommended candidate for this new opening under a separate letter.
Counselor Robinson?
Accept and file a communication under suspension. There should be some coming up on the new business.
Next communication, extension of Everett Ave Urban Redevelopment Plan. Want the whole thing read? Want the whole thing?
Waive the reading?
And we accept and file the communication under suspension if there are no objections.
Seeing none. So moved.
There will be something coming up under new business.
We also have a communication transfer request for Essex Street comprehensive infrastructure work.
Counselor Bishop?
Waive the reading and accept and file the communication. If I may speak on it for a
You
minute.
have the floor, Counselor.
This is a communication from His Honor the Mayor regarding the repair that is necessary on Essex Street. And the city manager is transferring funds from previous year's capital improvement projects in order to fund the $4,484,500 project. Many of these projects that he's transferring money from have been completed, and this is excess funding. Some of them, he has decided to reprioritize what jobs are being done. With the expertise from the new employees in the DPW department, they have recommended that Essex Street is in dire need of the repairs that are being requested. So I move to accept and file this communication, and under new business, we will be reading the 8 transfers that are required in order to accomplish this.
Okay, thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Bishop.
The next communication from the city manager, various ordinance proposals. The demolition of buildings 75 years or older and required installation of concrete sidewalks.
Accept and file communication under suspension. If there's something coming up under new business.
Thank you, Counselor.
Next communication, MWRA rates. Dear councilors, in response to the recent council order requesting the rates charged by the MWRA to other communities and how such rates compare to that charged to Chelsea, I have attached the MWRA's proposed assessment to all communities for FY 2019. This sheet includes both water and sewer charges.
Can I have a motion? Counselor Recupero moves to accept and file the communication. Thank you. Under suspension.
The next communication, miscellaneous year-end financial requests.
Counselor Bishop.
Move to waive reading and accept and file the communication,
Do you want to speak on it?
please.
You have the floor.
This is a lengthy communication from the city manager regarding salary deficits. Actually, there's 7 separate items on here. The first one is salary deficits, which are being funded by transfers from the salary reserve account for a total of $88,460. Under new business, I will be submitting orders to cover those transfers to the various departments. Cover salary salary deficits for this fiscal year that we're in now. The second, item number 2, was operating deficits funded from free cash totaling $293,000 going to various departments, the bulk of which is snow removal transfers from this previous winter. They are in deficit to the tune of $190,000. So of the $293,000, $190,000 is for snow removal, that we are required to come up with the money for those items. Item number 3 is the reauthorization of revolving funds. This does not require transfer of any funds. It's just the approval of the city council to reauthorize the establishment of 7 revolving funds in the city used by various departments. I will be submitting orders under new business to cover those. Item number 4, prior year expenses, no funding is required. These are school department expenses that were, for some reason, not paid from the last fiscal year's budget, and we are required to meet this obligation, and that money will be, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 separate items, and I will be submitting orders under new business to cover those. The 5th item is payment of the lease for elections to pay for St. Rose. As you are all aware, we have renegotiated with St. Rose, and they have agreed to allow the city to use their location for the upcoming elections, and the cost for that would be $5,000. I will be submitting an order under new business for that. The 6th one is donations. All donations made to the city to various departments have to be approved by the city council. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items that were given various sums: $500, $360, $100, $270, $85. Anything that's donated to the city has to be accepted by the city council. So I will be submitting orders under new business to cover that. The next one is appropriation from free cash to the stabilization fund. Previously, we had encouraged the city manager to transfer money into the city stabilization fund and the school department stabilization fund. We had an excess of, we have already approved $25 million to be done, to be sent to those accounts, to like the rainy day fund. In case there is a problem, one of the schools will have the money to pay for that expense. This is the end of the year, so that's why all of these things are coming in. This appropriation of $3 million pretty much wipes out the free cash, but puts it to a good cause, and that's the city stabilization fund. So I'll be submitting an order under new business for that also.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam
Thank you,
President.
Counselor.
Final communication from the city manager, appointments to boards and commissions. Pursuant to Section 4.2 of the Charter of the City of Chelsea, I'm invited to recommend the following individuals to boards and commissions in the city. For appointment to the Human Rights Commission, Mr. Roberto Rodriguez Lugo, 855 Broadway, Chelsea. Term expires June 30th, 2021. For reappointment to the Human Rights Commission, Reverend Sandra Whitley, 141 Mitchell G. Drive, Tewksbury, Mass. For a 3-year term expiring on June 30th, 2021. For reappointment to the Human Rights Commission, Ms. Oliva Ann Walsh, 91 Crest Ave, Chelsea, for a 3-year term expiring on June 30th, 2021. For reappointment to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board for 2-year terms expiring on June 30th, 2020. All 7 of the current members, none of whom have served more than a single 2-year term. Sean Dempsey, Deputy City Manager Ned Keefe, Terry Widener, Laura Weiner, Brian Hadelberg, Colleen Kelly, Nora Liz De Jesus.
I'll move that to a second reading under suspension if there's no objections.
All
Mr. Clerk?
appointments to boards and commissions.
Yes.
We now move on to communications and petitions to the council. We have a copy of a communication received from Planner Land Use Administrator and Planning Board Administrator, Mr. Elijah Romulus, regarding the proposed zoning amendments to Chapter 34, Article 5, off-street parking requirements, Section 34-106.
We can waive the reading and accept and file under suspension if there's no
Under
objection.
suspension. Sam, no objections. Thank you. Oh, okay.
This is a proposal that came to us in our package, and it's a proposal that I hope all the city councils are looking at. This proposal regarding the parking in the city of Chelsea. We all here have heard, not only residents, but business community about the issues that we're having here in the city of Chelsea. And I believe we should take note of this here notice. It's a notice from the planning department where the 8-member planning department members unanimously voted to reject this proposal. So I just want you to be aware of this proposal, and I hope that we'll be setting up a meeting so we can talk more. And as one of the speakers spoke about early, have a really dialogue on a comprehensive master plan where we can all get together and talk about not only the severity, but also the need of parking, but also the need of to continue to do the work we do here for our residents. And I don't want us to run to judgment on the parking issue, but we really need to sit down and engage in a serious discussion, work with the city planner. Hopefully we get a professional planner, someone that's experts in that field, to come in here and help us with this issue. As we stated earlier, we have some serious problem with planning of parking. We have a lot of development going on. Our city is getting more residents coming in, but it's not getting bigger. But we're having more folks come in, they're driving more cars, and we seriously need to look at this. I know the maker of it speaks in good intention, so I just want you to realize this is a very important piece of document. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Next order of business.
We have a communication received from City Clerk Parking Clerk Jeanette Cintron White regarding Council Avellaneto's request for reconsideration on the proposed zoning provisions of the ordinance regarding residency requirement for Chelsea Police and Fire Department civil service employees. We have the request for the reconsideration introduced by Council Avellaneda. We first have to vote on the reconsideration. If it's adopted, if you vote yes on to reconsider, the actual motion is again properly before you. If you vote no, then it's defeated.
Okay.
Not the motion, but the reconsideration.
Okay. So we're voting on a reconsideration on the
First.
residency requirement on police and fire first,
Whether you shall reconsider
whether
or
we shall
not.
reconsider or not.
A yes would be to reconsider.
Okay.
Counselor Vido?
No.
Counselor Lopez?
No, there's no.
There's no debate on
not the
reconsideration. Counselor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Counselor Brown?
Yes.
Counselor Bishop?
No.
Counselor Tahada?
No.
Counselor Avellaneda?
Yes.
Counselor Robinson?
Yes.
Counselor Pilatanda?
No.
Counselor Garcia?
Yes.
Counselor Recupero?
No.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in favor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 opposed. Reconsideration is denied. Next communication, we have a copy of communication received from City Park and Clerk Jeanette Centron White regarding the actions approved at the May 29, 2018 Traffic and Parking Commission meeting.
Have a motion? Anybody?
I make a motion to accept the file under suspension if there are no objections.
Seeing none, so moved. Thank you, Counselor. Unfinished business.
Unfinished business.
Counselor Garcia?
President, I would like to make a motion to pull out the FY19 budget out of conference so we can bring it to the floor for a roll call vote.
You got it.
The budget is now properly before you, Madam Chairman. Any amendments to the budget?
Before we get to the budget, that's unfinished business.
We just pulled it out. It's properly before you now. Now you can offer amendments.
Yeah, but this is not an amendment. This was,
What is it?
this was unfinished.
Ms. Clerk, you want to read?
$68,000.
We didn't get to that yet. We're acting on this one. The budget is probably before you. You move roll call for the budget, Counsel?
Just a moment.
First, we needed a motion.
Yes.
Motion to adopt by roll call?
Yes, motion to adopt by roll call.
Now you may.
Recognize Council President for the floor.
I move to amend a couple of items on the budget. Should I just read them out individually, Mr. Clerk? Okay. The first one is a motion to decrease the expenditure appropriation of Emergency Management Department in the amount of $55,000. The second one is to decrease the expenditure appropriation of Health and Human Services Department in the amount of $39,207. The third is to decrease the salary appropriation of Planning and Development Department in the amount of $72,000. Motion to decrease the salary appropriation of the Police Department in the amount of $150,000. And lastly, a motion to decrease the salary appropriation of the Fire Department in the amount of $100,000. Do I have an opportunity to speak on these?
Yes, you do. You have the floor.
Okay, so I have several amendments here, and I'll try to keep it as short as possible.
You got 5. You have 5 amendments.
5 amendments.
Okay. So the first one in decreasing the expenditure appropriation of emergency management, the amount of $55,000. We have our current manager who is retiring from that department and is being kept on as a consultant, and we aren't really sure why. So I just think that that department can use that cut and be creative with some of their other expenses. The other decrease in the Health and Human Services Department in the amount of $39,207 was something that a previous council entered into. It was a 3-community project where we each give a certain amount of money to address childhood obesity, asthma, and diabetes. It's been in play for about a year. I have not seen anything related to that. I think it's just, personally, I think we can do without that. The next one is in Planning and Development Department in the amount of $72,000 as far as salaries. I know that this is something that we had a meeting about in subcommittee and conference. We discussed the Downtown Coordinator project. I think it's a great project. I just am not convinced. The city manager is requesting $468,000 over what is being introduced in our budget, that he will be taking out of free cash in order to fund this project for 2 years. I know that with many people, when you go for an RFP process or if you file a grant and you're looking for money, the way that you get money is by showing outcomes or showing that you have accomplished something. I am not convinced. I haven't seen that. I don't see what the outcomes were. As a matter of fact, by the coordinator's own admission, the problem hasn't worked. I think that if we really want to serve this community, we need to start looking at people within this community to access our community in order to get us to fix up this area and be a part of it. It has to be something that everyone's a part of, newcomers, old folks, and we need someone that's able to unite those groups. As far as the police department, we sat here in budget when we were told that there's a $75,000 salary that goes to a police officer to escort our parking enforcement while they go out and ticket our community. It just seems another way that the city is making money off the backs of our hardworking residents, and I cannot sit back and allow that to continue to happen. Secondly, we have police officers that are walking these streets because people feel more comfortable with them walking in the community, but that is being paid out of our overtime budget, and I think it's time that that comes out of their regular roles. So I am not okay with people making extra money by doing duties that should be included in their regular job, so I am advocating for that. And I believe lastly, our fire department last year, we've had an issue with overtime with the fire department as far as going over the overtime budget. And in the past, they've gone over close to $1.6 million. Last year, we budgeted $1.25 million for the overtime budget, and they managed to stay under that. This year, they're requesting $1.3 million. I think that if we hired, because we did hire 10 new firemen, then we're going in the wrong direction as to how we're spending this overtime money. We should be going down and not up. And so I want to encourage our public safety department heads to kind of help us and push us in that direction. At the end of the day, the main role of city councilors is to hire and fire the city manager and approve the city budget, and I cannot in good faith sit here after I was elected by the residents of this community and rubber stamp this huge budget. I would have loved to have cut more, but I trust in my city manager's leadership, and this is just a little bit I can do. So, thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. Is there any more amendments to the budget?
I do have an amendment.
Okay.
My amendment was to reduce the legislative department expenditure account by $15,000 from $94,257 to $79,257. The reason being is that we have 3 attorneys here working for us in City Hall, and I think we could utilize that $15,000 somewhere better in the program. And I like to see it possibly end up going to the youth sports that are doing prevention work for the kids in our community. I think that would be a better service than hiring an outside attorney.
Chair recognizes Council Recupero. Just the amendment, we're just taking amendments at this time. Do you have an amendment?
I'd like to see some changes to the amendment.
Would you like to propose one?
Yes, I'd like to propose that we keep
They
it.
have to be
Okay.
in writing.
Can't accept it, it doesn't have anything in writing.
I don't accept.
You don't have anything in writing, but we ask the council members to have it in writing. Okay. Anyone have a amendment in writing which they'd like to offer?
If not, then you can open up discussion.
We are going to
Yes.
take one at a
Yeah.
time once we get to that.
Still on unfinished business, I'd like to move the authorization of the $468,000 from free cash from the fiscal year 2018 planning department account.
We gotta wait.
Later.
For that.
All right.
Okay, so if there are no more amendments,
Now you can have discussion.
we're going to
on
have
it.
discussion on
Each
the
one.
first 5 which were
The
offered.
the last amendment offered, there's no more amendments. The last amendment offered to the budget is introduced by Council Robinson to reduce the legislative department expenditure account by $15,000 from $94,257 to $79,257. Any discussion on that?
Any discussion on the 15,000 that's being amended? Any discussion? Okay, we move for roll. Councilor Recupero, you got the floor. Yes, sir.
The
can speak on it. You can speak
The
on it.
$15,000 that Mr. Robinson is talking about is that the city council wants to have a lawyer for itself. So to ask questions, in case we want to ask, the city lawyers work for the city. We need our own counsel to ask questions, to refer if whatever they say is for the people. There's already 3 lawyers, but we want to have our own lawyer, which is a minimal amount. You're not going to hire anybody for $15,000. You're just going to have a consultant. So when you disagree with what they're telling you, and you want to say, okay, I want a second opinion, just like if you go to a doctor. So we should be entitled to have a second opinion if we wish to do so. You know, the $15,000 is not a lot of money. Who are you going to hire for $15,000? A lawyer ain't even going to look at you for $15,000. It's just something that the city council needs. If it has to have if you want to make sure that this is what you ask, because many times I've done many things here, and they say, you can't do that. You're not allowed to do this. So let's ask our own lawyer and see that's a good thing to do. I'm in favor of it. My fellow councilors are in favor. That's up to him. But I'm going to vote yes on getting rid of, keeping the $15,000.
Councilor, if we could just clarify that, it's just to decrease the budget in this particular agency for $15,000, not for any specific direction. The only thing the council spoke of was the youth. He didn't speak of getting an attorney for us.
$15,000 is appropriated for that.
Next, Councilor Roy Avellaneda.
I will be supporting this cut. I believe that the intention of trying to add our own attorney, which was been thought of, it's not original in the past, is an opening up a can of worms. Why I say that? In my profession, when negotiating with attorneys, we've seen attorneys.
Councilor Avellaneda speaking.
Attorneys run the cost of, on average, a decent attorney about $500 an hour. You're talking about maybe, 20 hours here, 30 hours max. And I have to understand, none of this was thought out in how this was going to be done. Does that mean that one counselor can just on their own, not like what he hears from our own city solicitor, call up that attorney and then run up a bill, when meanwhile the rest of us haven't authorized it, which needs authorization? There's none of that was thought out at all. So I think, again, when you can go on like anything else, get plenty of opinions, and you'll always find someone who'll give you something else, another opinion, especially when you're talking about legal matters. I think that actually going against the advice of our own city attorneys is a big mistake. They haven't done us wrong in the past. So I don't understand that if you're not liking the opinion that you hear, well then, rather than cost the city $15,000 or whatever amount it will be, Google it, and there you go. But you don't need to cost the city $15,000. Some of the ideas fly. Our own city manager is an attorney. Guess what? If you don't like the attorney, city solicitor, listen to the man. He has a degree from Harvard. For crying out loud. We really need to spend $15,000? I think we're already paying him. So again, I think this is a mistake. It's been brought up in the past, and for this very reason, for possible conflict, we just don't need to spend $15,000. So again, I will be supporting this cut. Thank you.
We don't.
I was waiting to say something, but I can't, but go ahead.
Okay. So I will not be supporting this initiative. I support Councilor Recupero 100% on this initiative. There have been many times in the past as a new councilor where a lawyer's job is to interpret the law whichever way they want to. So if they work for the city, of course, they're going to interpret it in that way. I want the option to have a lawyer on retainer to interpret the law for the well-being of this community and its residents, so that when it's not to create a war. I mean, we haven't even had an opportunity to even access it. I think my counselor to the right raises some very good points as far as we didn't set up the infrastructure and how that money would be utilized. I believe that we are a body, and not one person will be allowed to use that money without consensus from everyone else. But I think that rather than just completely get rid of it, I think that maybe we need to establish some type of infrastructure as to how we use this money, so that we can have the law on our side when we're attempting to represent this community. It's a small amount. They'll be on retainer. As the counselor said, they won't be getting, who wants to work for that much money? I get it. It would be on retainer. It would be in a situation where maybe it could be used with respect to the parking, comprehensive parking issue that we have. If we have a legal question and maybe the city lawyers aren't in. I'm so rusty speaking over here because I'm so used to being up there. I forgot how to speak to the community, sorry. I just feel that we're not always going to see eye to eye, and it's important for us to have our own lawyer on retainer to be able to access information and, again, interpret the law in a way that benefits the community. I'm on repeat. I will stop. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Bishop.
First of all, the law department is well-funded and well-staffed. I don't want to be told as a counselor, you have your own lawyer, go talk to them. It's not us against them. They are our law department. We allowed them to be hired. Many, many years ago, it might have been the situation when the mayor was hiring the law department. It was much smaller, and they were working for the mayor, and we had the city, the Board of Aldermen, and was a different situation. Now, that's our law department. We're funding them pretty well. And as I said, I don't want to be told, well, you've got your own counsel, go speak with them if you have a question. I want full access to that $400,000 law department when I need it. So I'm voting for this.
Thank you. Again, the motion on the floor is to reduce the department by $15,000. Recognize Joe Paratonda. Councilor. Yeah, sorry.
The only problem I see with this $15,000 for our own attorney is what happens if one counselor uses up the whole $15,000? So now within a month, the $15,000 is gone, then what do we do? Like Councilor Bishop says, can we go to our own city attorneys after that? And if we can't, what do? Do we then Google what we're looking for? It's kind of, kind of ridiculous here. I mean, we're gonna $15 for an attorney, and then we're done with it after a month, 2 months. Like I said, then what do we do? Like I said, then we may have to Google it.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other councilors like to speak? Okay, so now we're going to actually vote roll call on this amendment. Okay? First amendment of 6.
Can I ask the clerk to clarify the vote?
Yes.
A yes would be to adopt the amendment, a no would be to deny it. If you adopt it, you're cutting the $15,000 from the expenditure line item, appropriation. Councilor Vido?
No.
Councilor Lopez?
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Councilor Brown?
Yes.
Councilor Bishop?
Yes.
Councilor Tahada?
Yes.
Councilor Avellaneda? Councilor Robinson?
Yes.
Councilor Pilatanda? Councilor Garcia?
Yes.
Councilor Recupero?
2-9.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9 in favor, 2 opposed, motion adopted. $15,000 been eradicated.
Okay, can you read one of the first
The
5?
next amendment in order will be amendment number 5, introduce motion to decrease the salary appropriation of the fire department 0122051 in the amount of $100,000.
Any discussion? Councilor Avellaneda.
I need to recuse myself due to possible conflict.
Okay.
Roll call.
Any
Roll call.
other council like to speak? Okay. Roll call.
Yes. If you vote yes, you're reducing the fire department appropriation 0122051 in the amount of $100,000 from the salary appropriation. If you vote no, it remains there. Councilor Vido?
Yes.
Councilor Lopez?
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez?
No.
Councilor Brown?
No.
Councilor Bishop?
Yes.
Councilor Tahada?
Yes.
Counselor Avellaneda recused himself. Counselor Robinson?
No.
Counselor Pilatanda?
Yes.
Counselor Garcia?
No.
Counselor Ray Recupero? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in favor. 1, 2, 3, 4 opposed, 1 recused. The motion is adopted.
100,000.
The amendment is adopted. The next amendment,
Yes, sir.
introduced by Councilor Vido, to decrease the salary appropriation of the Police Department 0121-051 in the amount of $150,000.
Any discussion? Recognize Councilor Avellaneda.
I'll be voting against this cut. I have full confidence in our chief
Here's the police
and
department.
his ability to manage his police force. I don't think the cut actually addresses the overtime budget in itself, rather the salary portion. We had an opportunity to discuss this in subcommittee meetings, and I believe that the way that they man certain operations or man our downtown areas, which for the longest time has been a point of contention from our residents about how we can improve the safety of our downtown areas, to turn around and think that the methods are not working, or to cut in the manner that how he thinks that how to operate the police force goes against leaving it to a professional. We've seen the improvements in our downtown areas, and I think that we should keep the budget as stated, unless there is something else that I'm missing here. Again, the hours are there. We've increased the number of officers on the police force, and it's bearing its fruit. So I'll be voting in support of the budget as it was originally stated.
Thank you, Councilor Avellaneda. Anyone else like to speak on the motion? Ask the clerk to call the roll.
Clarify the vote.
If you vote yes, you're agreeing to reduce the salary account in the police department by $150,000. If you vote no, it remains the same. Councilor Vido?
Yes.
Councilor Lopez?
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Councilor Brown?
No.
Councilor Bishop?
Yes.
Councilor Tahada?
No.
Councilor Avellaneda?
No.
Councilor Robinson?
No.
Councilor Pilatanda?
No.
Councilor Garcia?
No.
Councilor Recupero? Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
6.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 opposed. The amendment doesn't carry.
Defeated.
Right.
Next amendment, please.
Amendment number 3, introduced by Councilor Vido. Motion to, amendment to decrease the salary appropriation of Planning and Development Department in the amount of $72,000.
That was decrease.
Decrease.
Any discussion on the plan? Councilor Garcia?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I am actually not going to vote in favor of this. As the district city councilor for downtown, I see the value of this particular downtown corridor's work. I have to say that yes, even though we want to see change immediately, it comes gradually, and we have been seeing that change. The current downtown corridor has been working with the Chelsea Chamber of Commerce, has been doing a lot of work to support many of the projects that are going to be coming to the downtown area. And just to give you an example, the Salvation Army is, as you may know, is no longer there, but right now that is being replaced by an art gallery, and that was brought forward by the downtown corridor and her work. Not only that, but we also received a huge grant from Mass Development that could have not been possible without the work of this downtown corridor employee from Planning and Development. So it's so important to appreciate the work that many of our city employees do, because they are the life of our city to an extent, and they can improve the quality of life of many of our residents. Another thing that I would like to point out is that Green Roots is also an organization that is really working hard to improve the Chelsea Art Walk area, and we have set money aside for them. That's going to be coming up with the $400,000 plus. And if we put an end to this now, we're going to be affecting the momentum that we're already building to improve downtown. So we should be investing in our downtown area. We should have a vision. We should take the high road, and it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. So I really ask my colleagues to really support the work that this individual is doing. There are a bunch of events that are going to be happening this month, and I really hope that many of you can attend and that we continue to support Mimi's work and also the new fellow that will be coming along. And if we want to see more local activism and more local residents participating, that maybe we should encourage residents to apply for this fellowship that is going to be opening up really soon. So yeah, let's invest in downtown, and I ask you to really consider and not vote in favor of these $72,000. We shouldn't be cutting.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Tejada, recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I think many of you know that I'm very big into the arts and some of the work that Mimi and them have done. The reality is that, yeah, you're not going to get a huge, favorable outcome the first year of anything. With very few examples like Chow Pizza, which flourished overnight, there's very few efforts that you can make that will flourish right away. It's a trial and error thing, and you try and figure out what works specifically for your community. The fact that you tried something for a while and it didn't work, it just means that you found something that didn't work. Let's try something else. I think it's too premature to cut the funding for this. The arts, I can speak from my own experience. My daughter, when she was young, was having troubles in school. She picked up the violin, and all of a sudden, just certain things in her brain started clicking, and all of a sudden, you know, honor roll student. I'm not saying that that's an example for everybody, but I'm just saying that there's a lot that the arts and some of the things that planning and development have in store for the city that is going to help improve our city. Our city is growing and improving amazingly because of the efforts of everybody, but it's a trial and error thing in some of these events. You know, I mean, the dog walking one was a huge success. So it's a trial and error, and I think it's a little premature. You got to give it a couple of years, see what's working, and you'll see how things will get fine-tuned, and we'll get events that will be attended favorably by everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Tejada. Councilor Avellaneda.
Thank you. I will be voting no against this cut. For years, one of the critiques that I had against the former city manager was that there was so much focus about the development, but it just seemed to have a loss of civic life or soul in our community. And to his credit, there were a couple events that he tried to have, and I'm thinking of the Winter Wonderland Fest that came around. And you think about it, I'm amazed that he even pulled those off. I say that because he was city manager at the same time as he was trying to be a public events coordinator. And I think he was able to do it because he was in his, I don't know, 15th year as city manager or whatnot. So he was able to grow into that. We have right now a city manager who at the very beginning said, I'm looking at your downtown and you need help. We need to do some work in our downtown area. And his budget has and his efforts have focused on that. Part of that planning, or part of that effort, is to have a coordinator whose sole job is to have events, coordinate with all the businesses, all the nonprofits, individuals who want to participate, and get these things going so that as a civic life, as a person who's living in the community, you get to have some fun downtown, you know, and change the character of what it is.
And again, I've looked at the schedule, I've sat down with the coordinator and seen what is planned, what has been done, where it can get better, and I agree, it takes a little time, but it's gonna start to bear fruit. And you have to think about what else is coming down the road. We know that at some point, there's gonna be a redesign of our city square. And part of the planning, some of the things that are being planned right now are being done by her with that in mind, so that those efforts will have those events.
1 minute,
Also,
Counselor.
when we think about the final, when the Tobin Bridge is done and we have those areas underneath the Tobin Bridge, guess what? It's the downtown coordinator who's going to work on making sure that we're going to have what other communities have, like SOWA, like street fairs, and so on, that, you know, events that aren't, it's not just about working and laying your head at night, but actually having events in our area that make living in Chelsea that much more fun. So again, we've been asking for it, we deserve it, and I think that this budget item should stay. I'll be voting no.
Thank you, Councilor Avellaneda. Councilor Bishop.
President, I will be brief.
Thank you.
I'll try to be anyway.
Got 2 more, thank you.
Taxpayers' money is what we're talking about, of course. And we have to prioritize, what are we spending our money on? Well, we have to have police protection, we have to have fire protection, we have to have schools. We've decided we want to have a library, we've decided we want to have a senior center, we've decided we wanted to have various other departments. The downtown needs help, there's no question about it. I don't know if there is a way to bring it back. For years, there's been a downtown coordinator. We used to have Chelsea Main Streets. Ned Keep ran that. That's how he came to work for the city, was doing the Main Streets job. But that was always federal money. And it's still taxpayers' money, but I don't think, personally, if you wanted to spend federal money on something like this, I'd say, well, take a shot, see how you can do. Taxpayers' money, you know, I get a little, when you say, let's spread out and spend more taxpayers' money. So I'm going to vote for this cut. I think there must be some federal money downstairs. We have many, many loans and repayments of loans and community development and urban development and all of those things that went on over the years. That money is supposedly coming back in. So I don't know why we can't spend some of that money on something like this. I just think the taxpayers' money, I think we ought to be more careful with.
Councilor, thank you. Councilor, recognize the President of the Council, Damali Valdo.
So I think the idea of fixing up the downtown is a great thing. I just don't know that the downtown coordinator, I don't know, I am not convinced. I understand wanting to work at it. The problem that I'm having is that this downtown coordinator is doing jobs that would fall under ISD or Recreation, Cultural Affairs, or even the Chamber of Commerce. It's almost as if though, I almost feel like it's like some of the events that have happened, rather than promoting our local vendors, the coordinator has brought in vendors from outside of the city, from Cambridge or Somerville. How is that helping local businesses prosper when we're looking outside of the city? Not to mention that the person is a person from outside of the city. I would like someone that's going to incorporate people from the community, to revive Chelsea, bring different communities together and make it happen. But it just seems that I just would like for us to fully gentrify and push all the poor people out before we buy the cake to celebrate that they're gone, because that's really what it feels like. The people that are coming to these events are not existing Chelsea residents, and we need to do a better job at incorporating old Chelsea, welcoming new Chelsea by all means, but let us all be together. And if at minimum, by me putting forth this amendment, just kind of puts a bug in someone or two people's ears, then by all means it's well worth it. But I just think it's imperative that we consider every single community of Chelsea when we're looking to revamp or revitalize or whatever it is that we're trying to do. So I just wanted to put that out there. I will say the downtown coordinator has done good things with respect to Serve Safe and things to do with local businesses, but again, that could easily fall under a part-time position in inspectional services, and having events that can easily fall under recreational and cultural affairs. It just seems like a misuse of money. And then not the fact that I'm proposing $72,000 in salary, but there's a whole other order for almost $500,000. So, thank you.
Thank you, Council President. Any more discussion on the $72,000 to be decreased from development and planning? Councilor Lopez.
Thank you, Vice President. I'll be voting in favor of this decreased salary appropriation. We're spending so much money on Broadway. It's been a year or a year and a half, and I haven't seen any changes. And I don't think we're including our people, the people who go and shop around the area on Broadway. And I think we have to include the people who have been living in the city. We are concentrating on people from outsiders, from other places, and not from the city of Chelsea. So I'll be voting in favor.
Thank you, Councilor Lopez. Any other discussion? Councilor Robinson, you got the floor.
This seems to be a very tough issue to look at. I think we need to look at it. I live in this community, and I feel I shouldn't have to go to another community to enjoy music, enjoy things in other communities that should be happening in my own community. We got to take baby steps. You know, Mimi's maybe done some things I didn't agree with, but we got to crawl before we can walk. I will support this. I think it's a great idea, and we need to get behind it and stand up for what we believe in. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Robinson. Any more discussion before we close the matter on the Department of Planning at $72 decrease? Mr. Chair, can you clear the...
There's an amendment to decrease the salary appropriation of planning and development in the amount of $72,000. A yes vote would be to decrease it. A no vote would be to leave it alone. Councilor Vido?
Yes.
Councilor Lopez?
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez?
No.
Councilor Brown?
No.
Councilor Bishop?
Yes.
Councilor Tahada?
No.
Councilor Avellaneda? No. Councilor Robinson? No. Councilor Pilatanda?
No.
Councilor Garcia?
No.
And Councilor Recupero? No. 3 in favor, 8 opposed, motion denied.
Motion is defeated. Stays the same.
We have another amendment introduced by Councilor Vido to decrease the expenditure appropriation of Health and Human Services Department in the amount of $39,207.
Any discussion on the decrease? Any discussion? It's $39,207. Recognize Madam President.
So this is, actually, maybe the city manager could explain it better. But, yeah.
It's
we'll
your
have the city
motion.
manager. Why don't we have him explain? It'll be better.
It's up to you.
So
You
this
ask
is
for
the amount of
suspension
money.
rules,
This
a
is
lot
the
Just a moment, can we ask for a suspension of the rules before?
Move to suspend the rules so the city manager can address.
So this is the city's
So be it.
share of a regional collaboration that involves Chelsea, Revere, and Winthrop. A previous city council approved this memorandum of agreement to establish this collaboration, which was intended to be a public health collaboration so that a person could be hired to help the 3 communities look at aspects of public health that we weren't able to do within our own public health departments, and for which there were not existing collaborations in place. So, for example, we have existing collaborations supported by grants that look at substance use disorders, but we have identified in our communities other public health issues that span these boundaries, such as mental health issues, childhood obesity, asthma. And when this collaboration was established, it was the hope of the 3 communities that by hiring someone to lead this collaboration, that person would help the 3 communities collaborate on ways in which to tackle those public health issues that were not getting attention that they otherwise deserve. So this council, as did councils in Revere and Winthrop, all approved this document, this agreement, and it bound us to make these payments each year. Now, you can legally get out of this agreement, but not until 2021. And so, if you reduce this, we will still be contractually obligated to make the payment.
So we still, Mr. Manager, so we still would have to come up with the amount of we're reducing if we vote no?
We signed a contract with the approval of the last city council that obligated us to make our share of the payment each year until at least 2021, and this is our share, $39,000. The communities of Winthrop and Revere will be approving similarly their shares, which are based on population. So Revere pays the most, we pay the second most, Winthrop pays a different amount.
And just for clarification, is it a 5-year agreement?
No, it rotates 3 years, but you have to give a full year's notice to get out of it, and you can only get out at the end of a term. And so, having looked at this contract carefully after the council expressed concerns, and I sent this to the council, the first day we can legally extract ourselves from this agreement, if that's what we want to do, is in 2021, 3 years from now.
Wow. Thank you, Mr. Manager. Madam Chair? Okay. Any discussion on the matter? Roll call vote?
A yes vote would be to delete the $39,207. A no vote would leave it the same. Councilor Vido?
Yes.
Councilor Lopez?
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez?
No.
Councilor Brown?
No.
Councilor Bishop?
No.
Councilor Tahada?
No.
Councilor Avellaneda?
No.
Councilor Robinson?
No.
Councilor Pilatanda?
No.
Councilor Garcia?
No.
Councilor Ray Cooperó. 2 in favor, 9 opposed. The motion is defeated.
Thank you. Last amendment on the budget of 2018, hopefully.
To decrease the expenditure appropriation of Emergency Management Department in the amount of $55,000.
Any discussion? Councilor Avellaneda, you have the floor.
I'll be voting no on this, and I get it. There is, it rubs some of my colleagues the wrong way that post-retirement that our emergency director is being hired on for another, as part-time for a year. To explain it to the public, to the residents at home, the reason this happened is there was a plan in place. The plan in place was we had an assistant director who was being trained to take the current director's place. However, the plan went to Iola because that individual took a job somewhere else. And as a result, the person that this city was grooming to be the new director left, leaving us with an individual who was retiring and at the same time no backup. So now the city manager and the emergency director sat down and said, look, I'm not looking to keep on working the number of hours that I'm working, the level I can work, but I understand I can't leave you high and dry. And I can't just leave with all the institutional knowledge that I have. It doesn't work that way. In order for that to happen, the plan was we're going to hire someone full-time, and for the same salary as an assistant director, keep the old director. And that's what we have. Was there a plan in place? Yes. But as I said, like in many different situations, maybe you have, Garoppolo grooming to take over Tom Brady's place, but then guess what? Something happens. Now you don't, you got to start from scratch. This is what sometimes management is about. We have an executive director who's going to stay on part-time, train the new one who has zero amount of days right here in our city and would leave us in a terrible position to put in someone brand new. You would not do this in any other position. Would you hire a police chief who's never been a police chief or hasn't been a captain? Absolutely. Would you do this as a fire captain? Absolutely not. So why are we thinking that, we would do this in the emergency director? Again, it was a crappy position to be put in. It's not great. But this is the situation that we have, and this is how we're going to deal with it. So I think it'd be remiss
Can I
not
hold
to
you up for 1
understand.
second? The officer just came in and said someone has a red Prius. It's about to be towed, a red Prius. Thank you. Prius. Like you should.
There
Counselor,
goes our
sorry about
translator.
that.
Okay.
Yeah. He came in here, looked at me. I'm
But,
like,
as I was saying, this was just a backup plan. We're in a bad situation. So let's not, if we don't vote for this, we will basically be putting a rookie without any of the institutional knowledge to help him get trained and know how to operate in this city, which is, every city is unique when it comes to emergency management. So again, while it's not it doesn't seem like a great plan, it's what we have. And I hope my colleagues would, hold your nose while we go it, but there was a plan in place, we just don't have it. So we have to accept it as is. Thank you.
Louis Tejada, we recognize the counselor, please.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. It's a tough situation to be in, but you know what? It's a high-level position. If we were hiring from within, you wouldn't need a consultant. You have somebody from the outside. Even if they're a doctor, you're going to have them train under somebody else before you put them out into the field. Emergency management system. I think that the one thing that we're very lucky on is that the heads of the departments, like the police and the fire, are very cognizant of what our citizens, our residents, what we need. And the reality is that we're always boasting about how awesome our systems are, and it's because those in charge, including our city manager, are very, very attentive and aware of the needs. I don't know that I feel comfortable letting a new person come in without the backup knowledge that this consultant brings in, especially a 911 system. It could cost the city thousands, if not millions of dollars, if a catastrophe happens because this new person was not skilled or aware of just one minor detail that could cost somebody's life. It's a 911 system, it's a one-year scenario, and then we're fully trained and we're moving on. So I'm not comfortable with that. I appreciate the fact that I am sure that the person that's coming in is fully equipped and knowledgeable about their job. I'm pretty certain that they are, otherwise they wouldn't be hired. But they're not specifically knowledgeable about the city's criteria. Every specific city has its needs and its criteria, its protocol that they follow, and I think it's important to have somebody. Having said that, I do take issue with the number that was put out there, but it seems like that's something that is contractual and it couldn't be swayed. So, but I have to say no. You can't put somebody in the 911 system and expect something not to happen. So,
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor, we're now going to recognize the President, Madam President, Molly Vuto.
I've had several conversations with the city manager, and I know that the person that's coming into this position is very knowledgeable, is a master in dispatch, and has the skills necessary to do that. I will caution my council, if every time we go through a transitional period, we have to hire someone and pay them just to help them with the transitional process, the problem isn't the process. The problem is the people that are hiring. We cannot continue. It's just not sustainable. Could you imagine when Chief Kais goes to retire, we give him half of his salary? Half of his salary. I just want to remind everyone that he was on the top of the 100 list of top earners in the city. If he were to receive half of his salary to be able to help the new person coming in to transition, or any other city employee, I mean, we're walking in murky waters, and I understand wanting to support the city manager and wanting to support this budget. I in no way am trying to be a contrarian or trying to intervene or stop anything from happening. But we need to be very real about the choices that we're making here and why we were elected to be here in the first place. I think that some of the tactics or what I'm seeing in our budget is truly unsustainable in the future. And I want to make sure that Chelsea's going to be here when my daughter is an adult. And I just feel that if we continue to throw money away and we continue to rubber stamp on this side where it's just a recipe for disaster. And I just wanted to throw that out there. I trust fully that my city manager and his hiring practices hired someone that can fully do that job without needing a consultant. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. Anyone else like to speak on the last amendment? Mr. Chairman, no? Okay.
The last amendment is emergency management.
I'm sorry, Councilor Lopez, I apologize, didn't rec-
Yes, I just want to clarify that we are not saying here not to keep the emergency management, Mr. Alper. We're just trying to allocate so they can look for money from where they have from the budget. And if they want to keep him, get some money from somewhere else. We're not saying that we're not going to have, then we're going to have problems in the future if something happened when someone called 911 in an emergency. We just try to allocate some money so he can stay, but we want to cut some of this money.
Thank you, Councilor Lopez. Mr. Clerk.
The amount to be reduced from the emergency management would be $55,000 if you vote yes. If you vote no, it remains the same. Councilor Vido?
Yes.
Councilor Lopez?
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez? No. Councilor Brown?
Yes.
Councilor Bishop?
Yes.
Councilor Tejada?
No.
Councilor Avellaneda?
No.
Councilor Robinson?
No.
Councilor Pilatanda?
No.
Councilor Garcia?
No.
Councilor Recupero? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in favor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 opposed. Motion denied.
Denied. Okay, so we're going to now take the budget out as amended. The final count will not be reflected, but as amended.
We'll take a roll call to adopt the budget as amended, and then I need the breakdown from the Department of Revenue on. Okay, we'll vote on them separately afterwards. But we
Okay.
will vote on the
2-minute
budget
break.
as amended.
2-minute break.
Going to make that motion?
We're gonna-
I need a motion.
You have a
Vote on the
motion?
budget as amended. I need a motion.
We're going to take a 2-minute break. Just take a 2-minute break so the president can reserve. 2-minute break. Thank you. We just wanted to get back.
Yeah.
back in order? Do I have a motion on the floor, councilors? Councilor Garcia?
Yes, I make a motion to accept, to vote, to roll call FY19 budget as amended.
A roll call vote on the FY19 budget as amended.
Any discussion?
Any discussion on the budgets? Councilor Bishop?
July 1 of 2018, this budget will become law. It really, for those people at home that might be here tonight that haven't been through this budget process before, even if the city council votes against it and turns it down, it will still pass as presented by the city manager. The city manager stated tonight and in the letter that he sent in with the budget that the budget is more than numbers and departments that, have a schedule of what they want for money, and it's also a policy statement. And I agree. I have to say that this budget is not a policy that I endorse. An increase of $9.5 million guarantees that there'll be a property tax increase, which means people will be paying more on their mortgage and in rent, those that are renting in the city. $9.5 million in 1 year. What happens next year? Another $9.5 million? The year after that, another $9.5 million? This is unsustainable, as the chairperson said when she spoke earlier. This budget is unsustainable. We can't continue to do what we're doing every year. The taxpayers, of which I am one, only one, but I was elected, I think, by taxpayers. And they said to me, we want you to speak up for us. And that's what I'm doing tonight, speaking up for the taxpayers. I've been paying taxes in the city since 1972, every year. Since 1972, I've owned property in the city. I built 2 houses here and lived in them. Didn't sell them and try to make money on them. I lived in them. The taxpayers appreciate the fact that we have to have a police department, we have to have a fire department, we have to pay for the schools, and the budget as the school department presented will pass tonight without a problem. We've decided, as I said before, that we want libraries and senior center and many other things. However, there are a lot of things in this budget I don't agree with. I voted on some of them tonight, but the votes weren't there to cut the money out. I don't think that the taxpayers expect to pay for many projects that should be paid for by the state and federal government. And that's what we're doing. We have hundreds of thousands of dollars in this budget to various nonprofits that are all great causes. There are hundreds of great causes. I don't know if anyone here reads the Globe. I'm sure most people see it at some point. There was a story in there either yesterday or today about the Food for the Poor nonprofit and how they're only giving, out of $1 that you give, only 6 or 7 cents actually goes to food for the poor. The other 93% goes to jobs. And that's what the taxpayers' money is, that is what is happening with the taxpayers' money now. They're giving money to the city every year to pay for police and fire and vital services. And I don't think we're doing the right thing by them. So I can't vote for this budget. I understand the budget process. I know that it doesn't matter how this council votes on the budget. It's going to take effect anyway on July 1. But I can't put my name and say, yes, oh yeah, I'm for this budget, when I know it's not sustainable. We can't do this every year. We're going to hit the wall one day, and that $25 million that we may have in a rainy day fund is going to go in 1 year. Because our budget is almost all salaries. I'm shocked when I look at the budget and see what we're paying for various things and how many more people we have now than we had a few years ago. And I think we have to stop it. We have to say, wait a minute, taxpayers can't afford to be doing this every year, and they can't. We're driving them out of the city. Many people in the city were paying $4,000 or $5,000 just 10 years ago for real estate taxes. Now they're paying 10 and 12. It's crazy. So I have to vote no on this budget, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilor Bishop. Councilor Pelletonda.
Seems like none of us are happy when it comes to money, especially when your city is spending more money than it usually has. Every other city in town, Cambridge, Boston, Somerville, you can go on and on, their budget increases every year. We have to increase our budget to provide the services that we provide to the citizens of Chelsea. They say we keep pushing people out, but people that own or occupied, that own their homes in Chelsea, do get a tax exemption. They say the taxes are going up, the water bill's going up, but we do have $34 million in free cash. The budget may be going up, $2.1 million, but where's the other $32 million that we have? So I'm going to be voting for this budget. Thank you.
Any other councilors wish to speak? Councilor Tejada and then Recupero.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I obviously I'm going to vote yes, but it's tough. Just 5 years ago, you could get a 3-bedroom apartment for $1,100. And now it's $1,800. It's just the way it's going everywhere. Things have increased and costs have increased. But the services that are being provided for the city are also increasing, and they're benefiting. I feel very safe walking around Chelsea. I feel very safe. I like the way the city's looking. I think the improvements that have been made are significant. I think people see it. You can see it. I was in a place a few months ago, and I was talking to a couple of young ladies in their 20s, and I was shocked. Not shocked, but happy to hear, yeah, we want to move to Chelsea, but it's kind of pricey. That's what we were looking for, and that's what we got. Our city is becoming significant. And yes, these are costs that have to be paid and increases. I'd say to those that are concerned with regards to where the budget is, July 1st it takes effect. You have a full year to look to see where improvements can be made and brought it down. Particularly, areas that may be non-essential. But at the moment, I think that everybody's very happy with the services that are being provided. I didn't see much of a difference in what was being proposed the last time around to this time around. So I agree. It is hard. It is unsustainable. But this whole market economy right now is unsustainable, right? The house next door to me on Franklin Ave, 3-family, just sold for $835,000. It's an unsustainable market nationwide, okay? And that's just something that I wanted to point out. It's not exclusive to this council or the city manager that these things increase. It's just a matter of fact. There was times where you could buy a house in Chelsea for $15,000. Those times are gone, right? So we have to adjust properly to what's before us and prepare. And I appreciate the fact that, the head of the finance department put money in a rainy day fund. You're right, market crashes, that won't be enough to save any of us. But it shows effort and it shows concern. And I think that if we all work collectively together, we could prepare for a better budget the next time around. But I think that this budget does what it needs to do. Thank you.
Councilor Cooper.
Why we all kid ourselves? Here's the situation, okay? This city manager has done a great job. He hasn't increased the budget that much. It has to increase that much. The problem is not that, it's the contractuals. Our city runs on contractuals. 80% of your budget, or 70 to 80% of your budget is contractuals. So this is where you have to hold. You have to hold your contractual agreements. If you don't, the people that are here are gone. And the ones that come here, there's no guarantee that they're going to stay here, because you look at your housing stock. Your stock of this city is no longer homeowner occupied. It's rental. So what happens if the rent dries up? What happened to the cop that's making $100,000? What are you going to tell him? You're fired. Who are you gonna tell the firefighter? You're fired. Who are you gonna tell the teacher? We're gonna have to let you go. Is that the choices you want us to make? The choice we have to make is everything goes up, but it has to go up in moderation. If it keeps going up and up and up and up, you're never gonna sustain it. How are you gonna sustain it? Detroit fell apart, and that's 20 times, 100 times what we are. The point is, our city manager does a great job. His budget is a great budget. It's up maybe to the next generation of us councilors to determine that we have to contain some of our budget. We have to, because most of our budget is contractual. Maybe the people that work for the city should think themselves and say, hey, what should we take a bigger pay? Why don't we just let it a little? Because when you eat too much, you choke at the end. And that's what's going to happen to our city. You eat so much, eventually you can't sustain it, like my fellow councilor says. You figure it out yourself. Like he says, each year grows and grows and grows. Where's the money going to come from? You can't get blood out of a stone. This is the whole point. We're not saying we don't want to cut the cops, we don't want to cut the schools, we don't want to do anything. We want to give you it all. But what if you ain't got to give? What are you going to give eventually? What choice do? Not me, not them, maybe the next council that's here within 5 years. Think of the future. Don't just think of what you can eat now. Be like a squirrel. Save your little things. And maybe at the end, you'll be better off. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Bishop, Brown, sorry.
Thank you, Madam President. It was said tonight, the city councilor has a task before them each and every year, mostly improving the budget. And the second big task that we have is hiring a city manager. I believe the priorities that I have as a city councilor, I have to take them very serious around this time. I try to do all my work with my best of my knowledge. For talking to each department heads, we've had budget hearings, we've talked about cutting, we've done that. The charter allows us to cut the budget. We've done that. We had to debate tonight. But I look to our city manager for recommendations. I look to my fellow council members as how the city vision is being implemented and how we can continue to grow the city. And I believe tonight that as a councilor, I'm going to be supporting this budget because I believe the city tax dollars towards our needs are being spoken in the city budget. I believe the departments that the city residents want us to support and come into interaction and contact with each and every day, the police, the fire, they want safety. They want to know if something happens to their house, that their policeman will come to their door. They want to know if there's a fire in their house, there'll be a fireman to come to try to put it out and save lives. Our commitment, this budget supports our commitment to our kids, our students, our teachers. We all run on a platform of education. How can we encourage our youth? How can we continue to get our youth summer jobs? This budget talks about it. It provides the programs for recreational creativity, activities, jobs for our youth, and also summer safe programs that we can have kids go out into the parks, play soccer, play basketball, play baseball. We support our DPW with this budget. We continue to maintain our streets with this budget. We're talking about earlier about the plow and the snowstorms that we had last year. Because of this budget, it's still sustainable. So I want to first thank the DPW department, the parking department, the law department, the police, the fire, most importantly, the school department, the school committee members for being here tonight to support not only us, but supporting the school department here for your work, for your commitment to our schools, to our students, to our parks, to the safety of our city. This budget is really fair. It's a really fair budget. I looked at the third page in this big booklet that we had. I'm sorry? 1 more minute. You got to be kidding me. All right. Okay, but thank you, Madam President. The third page in this booklet tells us that this budget is only 6.6% increase over the last budget of last year. So there's really no big jump in the budget. I support Councilor Cupero, who's saying our city manager is doing a good job. We do have contracts and programs that we have to necessarily have. So in the end, I think this budget is sound, it's fair, and it helps everything that we envision here in Chelsea. Safe schools, safe community, police and fire, and yes, we haven't had to lay anyone off at this point. So I thank the manager for his work and Ed Dunn for his leadership in our treasury department. Thank you. Trying to rush.
Any other counselors wish to speak on the budget before we vote on it?
Roll call.
All right.
A roll call, yes would be to accept the budget as amended, and no would be to deny it. Even though you deny it, however, as Councilor Bishop stated, it would be adopted
And we need
without
eight
your approval.
votes,
No,
right?
no,
Oh, do you
just a
want it?
majority, yeah.
Okay.
Councilor Vido?
Yes.
Councilor Lopez?
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Councilor Brown?
Yes.
Councilor Bishop?
No.
Councilor Tahada?
Yes.
Councilor Avellaneda?
Yes.
Councilor Robertson?
Yes.
Councilor Pearl Tonda?
Yes.
Councilor Garcia?
Yes.
And Councilor Recupero? Yes. 10 in favor, 1 opposed, motion adopted. We're still under unfinished business, Madam Chairman.
Unfinished business, anybody? Councilor Lopez?
I want to move to remove the marijuana ordinance as amended on conference, move to a roll call.
Out of conference? All right, it's before you, you want to move it to a roll call?
Yes.
We have the amended version of the marijuana ordinance. Roll call requested by Councilor Lopez. A yes vote would be to adopt, a no vote would be to deny. And we'll take a roll call. Roll call.
Roll call. I don't think anybody's paying attention. So we're voting on the marijuana ordinance that we had the subcommittee on last
For the
week, was it?
licensing as amended,
For licensing.
adjusting the licenses and regulations.
Okay.
Councilor Vido?
Yes.
Councilor Lopez?
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez? Councilor Brown?
Yes.
Councilor Bishop?
Yes.
Councilor Tahada?
Yes.
Councilor Avellaneda? Councilor Robinson?
What was the question? I got it out loud.
Marijuana licensing.
Yes.
Councilor Pearl Tonda?
Yes.
Councilor Garcia?
Yes.
And Councilor Recupero?
Where'd everybody go?
10 in favor, 1 opposed. The marijuana ordinance is adopted as amended. Any more business?
Anything else
business?
under unfinished business, councilors?
Yes. I'd like to take from unfinished business that the Chelsea City Council authorized the appropriation of $468,000 from free cash to the fiscal year 2018 Planning and Development, account 303055-30600.
What do you want to do with it?
I want to ask for a roll call vote
Did
on
we
it.
already have a first reading on that?
Yeah,
Yes, we
it
did.
was moved to conference. And now this is the
Yes.
second reading.
This is the.
Any
one that you
discussion,
sent to subcommittee.
Madam Chairman?
No.
Any discussion on it?
No.
This is the $468,000 request we got from the city manager with refunding the downtown
Planning and Development,
for
$468,000.
2 years.
All right.
I'd ask for a roll call vote on the matter.
A yes vote would be to adopt, a no vote would be to deny. Councilor Vido?
No.
Councilor Lopez?
No.
Councilor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Councilor Brown?
Yes.
Councilor Bishop? No. Councilor Tahada?
Yes.
Councilor Avellaneda? Yes.
Yeah.
Councilor Robinson?
Yes.
Councilor Pearl Tonda?
Yes.
Councilor Garcia?
Yes.
Councilor Ray Recupero? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in favor. 3 opposed, motion adopted. That's all the items you have on unfinished business, Madam Chairman. We will now move on to second readings.
Second readings.
On the second readings, we have
That's a beautiful motion, Councilor Bishop. Thank you. No, I don't. And I think you spoke on each of them at the previous meetings. All right, so A through P? A through P, as in Peter. Is that right?
You have 16.
All right, so A through P, any objections, councilors? Is that okay? All right, so we'll move it to a roll call vote
On the 16 matters.
on the
no.
16, yep.
Okay. Counselor Vido?
Yes.
Counselor Lopez?
Yes.
Counselor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Counselor Brown?
Yes.
Counselor Bishop? Counselor Tahada?
Yes.
Counselor Avellaneda? Counselor Robinson?
Yes.
Counselor Pilatanda?
Yes.
Counselor Garcia?
Yes.
And Counselor Ray Recupero? 11 in favor, none opposed, motion adopted. The next order is introduced by Counselor Recupero, is objected to the first reading by Counselor Avellaneda. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Chelsea as follows, that the City of Chelsea Code of Ordinances be amended by adding the following ordinance. The Chelsea Code of Ordinance, Chapter 44, Article 11 is hereby added as follows. Amend Section 14-422, exemptions A1 in its entirety to read as follows. The provisions of this article shall not apply to residential yard sales, provided that, 1, only 5 yard sales shall occur per year on a single parcel of land, but not for consecutive weeks.
Chair recognizes Councilor Recupero.
I'd like to adopt on a roll call vote, I'd like to speak on it.
You have the floor, Councilor.
This is, only allows people 5 times a year to clean out their houses and sell. You still have to pay for a permit, and you have to know who does it. Right now, they're doing it all year long, and nobody knows who's doing it and when they're doing it. At least this way, you'll get to figure it out. It's twice you do it in the summer, twice in the fall, and once in the spring. So 5 times is not a lot of times to allow someone to have a yard sale. Other cities allow you all the time. Other cities don't even charge you. We charge to have a yard sale in your own house, your own driveway, in your own house. So I don't think there's anything wrong with just allowing someone to have 5 days a year to have a yard sale. It's normal. There's nothing wrong with it. I hope that my fellow council would agree with me and allow it to have a yard sale 5 times a year.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. Anyone else want to speak on it? All right. Nope. Councilor Brown.
Can I just ask for a little clarification? Because he said it's only 5, but he did kind of define when you could have them. Is there a specific time that you can have them? You can have them 5 consecutive weeks? No, that's what, yeah, that's what he said. Okay. Why?
Okay.
Say that.
Roll call.
Only 5 yards on one single
But not
parcel in a year,
consecutive.
but not consecutive.
Okay, great.
The yard enforcer.
Are we clear? We're good?
Counselor Vido?
Yes.
Counselor Lopez?
Yes.
Counselor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Counselor Brown?
Yes.
Counselor Bishop?
Yes.
Counselor Tahada?
Yes.
Counselor Avellaneda? Counselor Robinson?
No.
Counselor Pilatanda?
Yes.
Counselor Garcia?
Yes.
And Counselor Recupero? 10 in favor, 1 opposed, motion adopted.
Wow, Leo.
New business. First order under new business, Counselor Pilatanda, you gotta sign these after. That's why. Request that the city manager provide the council with a list of services provided to the residents along with the amount of money it costs the city of Chelsea.
Chair recognizes Councilor Pilatanda.
To adopt under suspension and speak on it?
Sure.
Yeah, as we're talking about money and budgets and everything else, and, you know, people supposedly keep saying they're being forced out of Chelsea, I'd like to, you know, remind the residents of what services the city provides to its residents that are here in the city. So I'm asking the city manager to provide us with a list of services that we provide to the residents, along with the money that it costs the city, so everybody's aware of what we're getting for our dollar here. Thank you.
Councilor Recupero.
Can I make, I'd like to have the one earlier about the ordinance to vote on it, right, for no reconsideration, a vote for no reconsideration.
What?
I'm sorry, what?
Why did you change your mind?
We adopted it, right?
What are we talking about?
The yard sale.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're on something else right
You
now.
adopted it. Oh,
It's gone,
no, it's
it's a
gone.
wrap, we're
That's
moving on, Counselor.
Next order introduced by Councilor Pilatanda, order that the city manager instruct DPW to clean the debris and weeds overgrowing the plants and walkways in our parks throughout the city.
Councilor Pilatanda. You have the floor, Counselor.
Yes, as we all know, the City of Chelsea has a private concern that cuts the grass in the parks throughout the city, but it's up to the DPW to do the rest of the weeding, picking up the trash cans, such things like that. So I'd like to have the city manager have the DPW look into having somebody maintain the parks as they should be kept up. We're spending, a lot of money to do these parks over, and then they're not kept up to the way they should be. So if we can have the DPW look into that, it'd be appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Next order of business?
Introduced by Councilor Robinson, request that the city manager and traffic and parking look into addressing the traffic lights at Broadway, Clinton Street, and Eastern Ave.
Councilor Robinson.
Adopt this unanimously under suspension if there are no objections. I'll just be brief. I know as we travel, leaving the city going to Revere or coming from Revere, it's a pretty dangerous intersection with coming out of Clinton Street, coming off of Eastern Avenue, and coming onto Broadway. So hopefully we'll be able to address this and come up with a solution.
Next order introduced by Councilor Robinson, request that city manager and planning and development hire a parking company who can deliver to the city a parking evaluation street by street in order to better address parking concerns.
Adopt this unanimously under suspension. And I guess when the city manager responds, then we can go to a conference and talk about it. There are no objections.
Order introduced by Councilor Robinson, request that a subcommittee conference be held with the city manager, parking clerk, and planning and development to look at residential parking program issues and concerns.
I think adopt this unanimously under suspension. I know we've been back and forth about the residential parking program, but we all should get in a room and talk about what we need to improve and what is working and what is not working. So, thank you.
Order introduced by Councilor Vido. Whereas on July 8, 2018, the City of Chelsea's urban redevelopment plan for the Everett Ave North Urban Renewal District will expire, and whereas the urban redevelopment plan, which was adopted in 1998, had to goal of redevelopment the entire area for the Chelsea-Everett border to commuter rail line on 6th Street, and the city has a significant improvement in the area. And whereas the United States economic recession of 2006 slowed down and set back the city administration's timeline for meeting its goals, and there is still additional work and investment to be undertaken, and the extension of the plan will help the city meet its goals. And whereas Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 121B and 48 and 760 CMR 12 requires that the City of Chelsea undergo a process to extend its urban renewal plan. Now, therefore, pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 121B, and the Code of Massachusetts Regulations 760, CMR 12, the City Council hereby approves the extension of the urban redevelopment plan for the Everett Avenue Renewal District for 10 years.
I'd ask for a roll call vote on the adoption. There are no objections.
Councilor Vido.
Yes?
Councilor Lopez.
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez.
Yes.
Councilor Brown.
No.
Councilor Bishop.
Yes.
Councilor Tahada.
Yes.
Councilor Avellaneda. Councilor Robinson.
Yes.
Councilor Perlatonda. Councilor Garcia.
Yes.
Councilor Recupero. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9 in favor, 1 opposed, 1 absent. Motion carries. We now have the orders introduced by Councilor Bishop. All the money orders.
The 12 items that we spoke on earlier,
Yep.
which are transfers for the reconstruction of Essex Street. I moved them all to a second reading, the
Okay.
transfers.
Yep. See no objection, so moved.
The next order is introduced by demolition of the building 75 years or older, introduced by Councilor Vido, and also the ordinance requiring for publication of notice application. Let me see. This is in regards to that communication. Yep.
I make a motion to have a roll call. If
Waive the
there are
reading
no-
and have a roll call, Judy? Okay.
Thank you, Counselor.
Counselor Vido?
Yes.
Counselor Lopez?
Yes.
Counselor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Counselor Brown?
Yes.
Counselor Bishop? Counselor Tahada? Counselor Avellaneda? Counselor Robinson? Counselor Pilatanda? He's absent. Counselor Garcia?
Yes.
And Counselor Recupero? 10 in favor, none opposed, 1 absent. Motion adopted. Next order introduced by Counselor Vido. Now therefore be it ordained that the revised Code of Ordinances of the City of Chelsea as amended be further amended by adopting the following new section 24-25 in Chapter 24, Article 1. Construction of concrete sidewalks adjacent to new construction.
Chair recognizes Counselor Garcia.
I ask that we waive the remaining of the reading, and I make a motion to roll call.
Move to roll call.
Counselor Vido?
Yes.
Counselor Lopez?
Yes.
Counselor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Counselor Brown?
Yes.
Counselor Bishop?
Yes.
Counselor Tahada?
Yes.
Counselor Avellaneda?
Yes.
Counselor Robertson?
Yes.
Counselor Pilatanda?
Yes.
Counselor Garcia?
Yes.
Counselor Recupero? Yes. 11 in favor, none opposed, motion adopted. We now have the money request appropriations.
Counselor Bishop.
I move these transfers. There are 10 of them from the salary reserve to balance out the departments for the end of the year.
Okay.
I move them all to a second reading.
Okay. 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10.
And then we have 1, 2 appropriations coming up, Bobby.
Madam
One,
President, I
two,
move to a second reading the 6 appropriations from free cash to balance things out for the end of the year, the bulk of which is for snow removal.
Yep.
And I spoke about those earlier, and I
Yes.
move them all to a second reading.
Okay. Thank you, Counselor.
Okay, we have the revolving accounts. 1, 2, 3. 3 revolving accounts, Bobby. You can, whatever you want to do, if you want to.
I have a motion. What are we doing?
We're now on
The revolving accounts, the 3 revolving accounts, revolvers.
revolving accounts. I move the
Second reading, want to go second?
to a second reading
Second
also.
reading. Okay. The ordinance, the second reading? Wait, the order, oh wait, just said,
The city manager tells me for item L.
How's it going to handle it?
no, this,
What is it in regards to?
it has to be passed tonight. Okay.
Tonight?
So,
No. in conju- Is it?
The
if it's
25th
an
all right?
ordinance change, it needs 2 readings.
Is the
anyway?
25th all right? Yeah.
does it require 2 readings?
It doesn't really require 2 readings revolving accounts, but technically, we've been doing it.
I'll move it to a second
Past
reading.
practice,
Okay.
yeah, past practice
He'll
has
move it
gone
to a
2
second
We
readings.
have
yeah.
one meeting left for the,
These are the 3 revolving accounts.
Yeah, the ordinance. Yep. Item L.
Is it 3?
Hmm?
Is it 1 order?
Yeah,
3
it's
of
one
them.
ordinance. It's
Right.
number, it's letter L on the agenda.
That's the one for ordinance, right?
Yeah. And then, oh wait,
Now we have,
I see the confusion. Because then there's an order. Okay, this is something separate. Okay, I got it.
It's separate, yeah.
I'm here. Let's do it.
okay. We have now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more above on the
No.
expenditures, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
1,
move
2,
them to a
3,
second
4,
reading.
5.
Madam
Move these to a second reading? Okay.
5 of them.
But it's in the same order. It's item M.
They're all under,
And
right,
they're all in the same little packet.
under O, yeah.
And now N.
Okay.
And I moved the $5,000 for the city clerk for the election for St. Rose. I moved that to a second reading.
Second reading, right.
Well, wait, I feel like we're skipping
And now,
something,
wait a
right?
minute.
That's the next one, isn't it?
Okay, now we have, let me see, now we have the police department to support, we have $500 from the Larson family. These are the donations, Bob, the next
gifts?
1, 2,
I thought we did them already.
3, 4, 5. We have 5 requested donations.
$5,000, did you move that? I
You
heard
moved
you
it to
call
a second reading.
They'll have to go to a second reading.
Okay,
They're all second readings.
okay.
Now, these are the 5
We have the
donations and
5 gifts I moved.
the
Okay,
5
can we
gifts.
just read,
Accept them, or?
You can accept and file these tonight if you want.
can we read the amount off so we can all be aware of them? I know
The
it's
amount
a lot,
of which one, Counsel?
all 5 of them.
Of the gifts?
Yes.
Yes. We have $500 from the Larson family to the police department. We have $360 from the Kryptonite Lock Corporation for the public library. We have $100 donation from Shelbourne Farms to Halloween celebration to the HHS department. We have $270 donation from the Chelsea Youth and Family Partnership, accepted to community schools,
Chelsea Schools.
right, to support the Flying Squirrel program. And then I think that's it.
Another $100.
Oh, yeah,
That's
$100
for
from an
veterans.
anonymous donor to the veterans.
I move to accept the gifts, and do we need a roll call?
Yes.
Move roll call. One roll call, madam? Yes?
Yes.
Roll call?
Yeah,
One
one
roll
roll
call,
call,
yes,
list all
sorry.
the gifts separately. Counselor Vido?
Yes?
Counselor Lopez?
Yes.
Counselor Rodriguez? Counselor Brown?
Yes.
Counselor Bishop?
Yes.
Counselor Tahada?
Yes.
Counselor Avellaneda? Counselor Robinson?
Yes.
Counselor Pilatanda? Counselor Garcia?
Yes.
And Counselor Recupero? 11 in favor, none opposed, motion adopted. We have an order introduced by Counselor Bishop, order the Chelsea City Council authorize appropriation of $3 million from free cash to the general stabilization account.
Councilor Bishop,
Second reading, Madam President.
second reading.
We have a late order introduced by Councilor Bishop, order that the Chelsea City Council authorize appropriation of $50,000 from free cash to supplement the FY 2018 Planning and Development Contract Services account.
50,000, is that what this is?
Yes.
This is the one we had the conference on tonight?
I don't have that one.
I move roll call on that.
That, you want to go
Oh,
to?
this was the first reading,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Move it to a second reading.
Second reading, okay. We now have, because the Department of Revenue requires 4 breakdowns of the actual budget that you've adopted, we have the new figures with the amendments built in, so you can take your individual roll calls on them. They total the total amount of the new budget. The budget has been amended, so you have a new figure. Eddie Dunn just gave me the updates now of the new figures that total the new budget that you adopted. $174,074,177. That would be your first vote, and that would be for the general fund. Your next vote would be the enterprise fund would be $8,397,190. Your next enterprise fund, sewer enterprise fund would be $12,808,779. And your last vote would be for the general fund to be financed in part by certified free cash for $683,919. And we have to do, no, this is your budget. This is your breakdown now, which. The numbers have changed, so, yeah, no, because you adopted the budget as amended, but the Department of Revenue requires the 4 separations on each one, Bob, okay? Yeah.
So we're doing 4 separate
We
roll
do,
calls?
right, we'll have to do 4 separate roll calls.
Okay.
Counselor Vido?
Yes?
Councilor Lopez.
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez. Councilor Brown.
Yes.
Councilor Bishop. Councilor Tahada.
Yes.
Councilor Avellaneda. Councilor Robinson.
Yes.
Councilor Pilatanda. Councilor Garcia.
Yes.
Councilor Recupero. 10 in favor, 1 opposed, motion adopted. On the next one would be the water enterprise. Councilor Vido.
Yes.
Councilor Lopez.
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez.
Yes.
Councilor Brown.
Yes.
Councilor Bishop. Councilor Tahada.
Yes.
Councilor Avellaneda. Councilor Robinson.
Yes.
Councilor Pilatanda. Councilor Garcia.
Yes.
Councilor Recupero. 10 in favor, 1 opposed, motion adopted. The next item is on the enterprise funds, sewer and sewer enterprise fund. Councilor Vido.
Yes.
Councilor Lopez.
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez.
Yes.
Councilor Brown.
Yes.
Councilor Bishop. Councilor Tahada.
Yes.
Councilor Avellaneda. Councilor Robinson.
Yes.
Councilor Pilatanda. Councilor Garcia.
Yes.
And Councilor Recupero. 10 in favor, 1 opposed, motion adopted. The final part of the general fund, $683,919. Councilor Vido.
Yes.
Councilor Lopez.
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez.
Yes.
Councilor Brown.
Yes.
Councilor Bishop. Councilor Tahada.
Yes.
Councilor Avellaneda. Councilor Robinson. Councilor Pilatanda. Councilor Garcia.
Yes.
And Councilor Recupero. 10 in favor, 1 opposed, motion adopted. That concludes your budget for FY19, and that's all you have before you, Madam Chairman.
That was great. Good job, everybody. Public announcements, anyone? Councilor Garcia.
So excited, summer is here, so it's time to celebrate and really enjoy in our downtown corridor. So this Thursday, June 7th, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., there's going to be a series of events. It's the summer kickoff night here in Chelsea, so definitely come on out from 6 to 8 at the Chelsea Square. There will be a lot of free activities for everyone and some music, so come enjoy and let's celebrate summer.
Thank you. Anyone else with public announcements? Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to read just quickly this little flyer we got from the fire department. June is Porch Fire Safety Month, so we know, as Councilor just stated, a lot of things are going to be happening. But please be careful with the grills and the barbecues because, again, we don't want you to burn up the house. But have a good time. We'll be back in another meeting, and you'll see us out in your neighborhoods. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Anybody else? Councilor Lopez.
Silent for the people who died in the country where I was born, Guatemala, from the eruption of the volcano. And I would like to have a minute of silence, please.
Absolutely.
Longtime Chelsea businessman Bobby Brudnick, who passed away this past week.
Before the moment of silence,
Yeah.
I just forgot. Congratulations to all the Chelsea High School students who will be graduating this weekend. So congratulations.
I'm sorry, but before the moment of silence, I just wanted to thank our city manager. I know that we don't often agree, and sometimes I come up here and you must go home and think bad things about me. But I tell you that I truly appreciate the work that you do here, and I appreciate your open door policy and always being available to answer my questions. So thank you, and thank you, Mr. Dunn, for the budget this year. Moment of silence. Seeing no further business before us, we are adjourned.